A tune-up race is one of the most effective tools to prepare for your goal race. Whether that's a marathon, a half marathon, 10K, 5K, or even Spartan race. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what a tune-up race is, why you should do one, and how my recent Suwannee Half Marathon went, and what that tells me for the next 4 weeks of training for a sub 3 hour marathon. Let's get into it. But before we do that, why don't you tune up that like and subscribe button? Yeah, that's a dumb joke. But seriously, it helps the channel a lot and it means a lot. So just hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll jump into tune-up races. So what exactly is a tune-up race? Well, it's a race that fits into your training schedule and you fit it in order to basically test your race conditions. So it's a shorter race than your goal race, typically. And so, for example, a half marathon is a good tune-up race for a marathon, or a 10K for a half marathon. A 10K can also be a tune-up race for your marathon. Doesn't really matter, but a shorter distance at a more intense pace. And so the idea is that at a tune-up race, you get to test your pacing strategies, you get to test your nutrition, your carb loading, your race day nutrition, your on-course, drink of choice, and most importantly, you get to really test and see where your fitness is at. And if all goes well, a tune-up race can be an insane confidence boost as you target your goal race. And if it doesn't go well, a tune-up race can really help weed out where your weaknesses are and what you might need to focus on for the remaining weeks of your training. So for me, I just ran the Suwannee Half Marathon. This was a checkpoint exactly 4 weeks out from when I'm going to attempt a sub 3 hour full marathon. So let's talk about how it went. So why the Suwannee Half Marathon? Well, 2 reasons. One, I wanted a half marathon that was exactly 4 weeks out from my marathon. So that helped narrow it down. The second is I wanted a half marathon that was either here near Asheville where we live, near where my wife's family lives, or near where my family lives. That way we wouldn't have to pay for a hotel and all that. So that narrowed it down to the Suwannee Half Marathon down in Georgia, near my family. We were even able to convince my sister and her family to run the 5K with us. Taylor did the 5K, and then they all did the 5K and I did the half marathon. So all that to say, that's why I picked that race. The weekend that the race fell on actually happened to be Valentine's weekend, so Taylor and I decided to make a whole weekend out of it. So we left on Thursday to go halfway from here to Georgia and stay the night in Greenville, South Carolina, which we've been a couple times now and are really enjoying Greenville, South Carolina. It is a really fun, really cool city to visit. It's got a river that goes straight through the city. It's got tons of great restaurants, and it's just a really good time. It also happens to have a Grand Bohemian Hotel, which we've stayed in the Grand Bohemian in Asheville. We stayed there on our honeymoon, so the Grand Bohemian is very sentimental to us, so it was really fun to be able to stay in the one in Greenville, and we chose to stay there Thursday night, the 13th, instead of Friday night, the 15th, because on Friday they basically 5x'd the price for a one-night stay. So we were like, let's go Thursday, and then Friday we'll go down the rest of the way to Georgia. But Thursday, of course, we also went to the melting pot and just consumed our weight in delicious, amazing foods, and then crashed. And it was an awesome time. It was wonderful. We loved it. And then we went down the rest of the way to Georgia on Friday. The race was Sunday, so Saturday was the day we did the packet pickup and all of that, but it was also the day to really start dialing things in and start testing things. All right. So it is 8:45 on Saturday before the race tomorrow. Today's goal is mainly carb loading. And the goal eventually is to be able to do this on kind of the more animal-based diet that I am used to. So fruit and honey and maybe masa flour. So we're going to go make some masa flour pancakes to start the day with maple syrup. We've got a banana. We've got an orange. Let's start eating. This is like an eating fest today. So the plan for this race was simple. Again, it's a tune-up race, and it's a time to test things. So I wanted to, make sure I got a solid effort on race day in, practice my fueling strategy, test race pace fitness, and practice carb loading, practice race day nutrition, all of that. So the day before the race, I wanted to practice my carb loading, so I was targeting 700 grams of carbs. I got in, I think, a little over 600 grams throughout the day. But by the time race morning came, like now that I'm done with the race, I think that was actually a really good amount. And I think if I do that for 2 or 3 days in a row, then that will be perfect for the marathon. That's my theory right now. And so I never felt like I was out of fuel, and I never felt any stomach issues or that I had eaten too much or anything like that during the race. The day before the race, I was even able to get in a nice little 2-mile shakeout run and some strides just to keep things open and everything feeling loose and good. And so that went well, and went back to eating as much food as I could. I think it's only fair at this point to do a montage of all of the food. So let's do that. Now, the race itself was interesting because the forecast was not looking good leading into the race. And when I woke up at 4:45 race morning, and it was thundering and lightning, and there was a tornado going through Georgia. And so that definitely put a little like, oh no, this race could go really bad. But lots of prayers from the night before and the morning of were answered, and everything was clear by 7. It was definitely a dreary day, but it was kind of that perfect dreary, crisp air feeling. The course itself was a little wet at times, which we ran on a boardwalk, so that made it kind of slippery, but other than that, it was perfect. They actually, because of the weather, they did delay the start from 7:30 to 8:30, so that was a slight hiccup, but honestly, it was more just trying to figure out what am I going to do for an hour. I guess just sit and nap or something in the morning. So, all in all, that was the race morning. I believe it would not be a race day video if I did not have a cliche run fit kind of show and tell. And we got to the race. I was able to go through my warm-up routine, which I really enjoyed. I ran a mile, and then I did some dynamic stretches, the swing, leg swing things, and the skipping things that you see the track people do, and that kind of stuff to really like open things up and get the legs moving and the blood flowing. And then I did some strides as well after that, just to get my stride opened, and I was able to break a little bit of a sweat, but I don't feel like I overexerted myself at all. I felt ready for the race, and so I really liked that warm-up routine, so I think that's what I'm going to stick to for the Asheville Marathon. Now, when the race started though, it did not go as planned. So I planned to average a 6:30 pace for the race. This would put me at a finish time of about 1:25, which would be a PR for me in the half marathon. That pace is around my threshold pace, which is something I've practiced a lot in the past. I've held it for up to 7 miles in workouts. All of the research and things I've found say, you know, if you can hit a 1:25 half marathon in your tune-up race, you are golden for a sub 3 hour marathon.
I'm gonna count you down from 5. Get ready. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Here we go, here we go.
My first mile came in on pace, slightly under. And then from there, things started to slip. And by mile 7, I never saw a sub 7-minute mile again. I couldn't even hold my marathon pace for the race. And to be honest, I don't really know what happened. For the first few miles, it was kind of rolling hills and then mainly flat. Then we entered a park around mile 4, maybe, and it had some very steep hills, maybe like 10% grade hills. And those did take more out of me than I thought. Even though I train on hills a lot here, I don't train on hills at those faster paces. I felt like my effort, like I've run these paces enough to know kind of what that effort feels like, what that heart rate feels like, and I was in that heart rate zone. I felt that effort, and the paces just didn't match. I ended up crossing the finish line in 1:32, which was not even a PR. I ran a faster half in the first half of my marathon last year, and then went on to run another half marathon after. So the results were pretty disappointing. And I know that sounds vain, because a 1:32 is still something to be really proud of, and I am still proud of it. And I even got, first place in my age group. So I'm still proud of it. It was still really fun, but it does worry me a little bit for my sub 3 hour attempt in 4 weeks. So, what did I learn? First, maybe my pacing, needs more work. more hill work. The Asheville Marathon has a similar elevation gain, a little bit more than this half marathon did. That's one thing, is just working on more intense paces with hills. It's something I haven't really been able to do consistently throughout this block. Now the good news though is that being able to test my nutrition, my carb loading, my warm-up, all of that felt really dialed in and on track, and that gave me a boost to at least take away some of those race day jitters. So what does that mean moving forward? Well, I have 4 more weeks until the marathon. So I'll be doing more marathon pace and threshold work with hills over the next 4 weeks. So in conclusion, this race was not a confidence boost. It was a little discouraging, but it was also a learning opportunity. It wasn't the goal race, and it gave me a lot to be able to work on towards the goal race. It was also a good reminder just that every race, whether it's good or bad, is all part of the journey. Just like in life we face a lot of trials. Some good, some bad, some go worse than others. But God tells us to face all trials with joy because it builds endurance, proven character, and hope. And that is the whole point of this running journey that I'm on, is to learn how to run with joy. And that includes when races go poorly. And so overall, tune-up races are one of the best ways to sharpen your fitness and just test race day execution. So if you have a big race coming up, I highly recommend scheduling in a tune-up race. And so that is my recap of the Suwannee Half Marathon and what's next over the next 4 weeks of training. If you found this helpful, drop a like, subscribe for more running content, and throw in a comment. Do you use tune-up races in your training? And so until next time, run with joy.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything. You can mold, shape, vibe